What's going on, fight fans, and welcome back to another episode of Knuckle Game Podcast, where we don't chase headlines, we chase understanding. This is Knuckle Game Aftermath. This ain't 155. Makhachev versus Garry. Islam Makhachev defeats Ian Machado Garry by unanimous decision, okay? Judges score it 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. No robbery there. No excuses. Islam deserved the victory. But I don't want to talk about whether Islam won. We know he won. I want to talk about what happened while he was winning. Because I think Ian Garry showed us something important about Islam Makhachev at welterweight. Not necessarily a weakness, but maybe a limitation. And there's a difference. Let's dig into the rubble. This ain't 155. Let's get it. Let's get to it. Ian Garry didn't fight like Ian Garry. Let me ask you something. Did Ian Garry look like himself to you? Because that was one of the first things that caught my attention. Ian normally moves. He's a long fighter. He uses space. He makes you chase him. He gets you reaching. Then he touches you from outside. And he moves again. But against Islam, he spent much more time holding his ground. Did you guys notice that? And initially, I'm sitting there thinking, why isn't this dude moving? You got the height. You got the length. Why are you just standing there letting this man get close enough to put hands on you? But then I started thinking about what happens when you move backwards against Islam. Eventually, you run out of real estate. Now your back is on the cage, and Islam doesn't need a special invitation once you get there. Look, so maybe it was Ian's strategy. Maybe that strategy was deliberate. Instead of running from Islam's wrestling, maybe his plan was to make Islam wrestle a welterweight. There's a difference. Ian wasn't trying to convince Islam that he couldn't take him down. He was making Islam discover, okay, you got me down. Now try keeping me here. And that became interesting. Islam could put him down, but keeping that big man down, man, that's like trying to hold down a wave in the ocean before it rises. Eventually, that water's coming up. So, did Islam's wrestling work? We need to be careful here, because this is where fight conversations get crazy. All right? Somebody hears Islam had difficulty holding down Garry or holding Garry down. And somehow that becomes or translates to Islam's wrestling doesn't work at welterweight. No, that's not what happened. Islam's wrestling absolutely worked. He got takedowns. He controlled positions. He dictated where significant portions of the fight took place. He won rounds doing it. So we're not questioning whether Islam can wrestle welterweights. We just watched him do it. The question is, what does it cost him to wrestle welterweights? Because that's where I saw the difference. At 155, Islam looked like a predator playing with his food. He let you squirm. He let you struggle. Let you think you found daylight. And then snatch, dinner time. He'd devour you. But Ian Garry, he wasn't fooled Saturday night. That man was fighting his way off that damn plate. Machado Garry kept making Islam renegotiate the position. Islam would get him down. Ian worked. Islam controls him. Ian works. Islam tries to settle. Ian works. Ian creates another problem. Reset. Do it again. That's exhausting. That's exhausting. So, and especially when the man underneath you is naturally bigger. So in my opinion, the size mattered. Here's where people may disagree with me. Ian Garry's size mattered. And saying that isn't disrespectful to Islam. It actually acknowledges what Islam accomplished. Garry is taller, longer, and has a legitimate, respectable welterweight frame. And Islam couldn't control Garry's body as effortlessly as we've seen him control smaller fighters. His technique didn't disappear. The leverage changed. His strength didn't disappear. The resistance changed. His cardio didn't suddenly disappear. The workload changed. That's what moving up in weight represents. Everybody loves saying skill pays the bills. Absolutely. But physics sends out the invoices. And Saturday night, Islam got one. That's why this ain't 155 isn't me saying Islam doesn't belong at welterweight. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, he belongs. He just won. I'm saying the same techniques now come with a different price tag, homie. That's all. And Ian Garry made him dig in his pockets. We got to give Garry his credit. Now, let me give Ian Machado Garry some credit now. All right? Let me give him his credit. Because losing to Islam Makhachev doesn't mean you perform poorly. I thought Ian showed some things. The takedown defense was there, the ability to work himself back into position, his composure. And when Ian started actually letting his hands go, there were moments. That teep and straight front kick up the middle and to the knee, I like that. That's exactly the kind of weapon a longer fighter should be using. Keep Islam at the end of something. Make him cross dangerous territory to get inside, because Islam wants to change levels. So give him something to think about when his head enters that space. A front kick, a knee, straight punches. You got to make the entry expensive, all right? Later in the fight, Ian started having more success with his strikes. We all saw that. And that made me ask the obvious question, damn, where was that earlier? I mean, he spent mainly the whole fight defending, and he did a good job. I mean, he defended better than he fought. And this might be Ian's biggest regret, because I thought he spent too much time in the early part of the fight preventing Islam from beating him instead of making Islam worry about what he was going to do. I mean, that's subtle, but it's important, because against somebody like Islam, defending something feels like an accomplishment. Islam shoots, you stop it. Yes. Islam gets you down, you get back up. Yes. Islam tries to control you, you escape. Yes. All these feel like accomplishments, but meanwhile, you're still losing the round. Huh? Brother, at some point, you have to hit this man. I mean, and that's where I think Garry left opportunities on the table. That's it. I think the threat of Islam's wrestling affected Ian's offense before Islam even needed to wrestle. Now, that's championship level psychological pressure. Wouldn't you say so? If I can make you afraid of something I haven't done yet, I'm controlling you without even touching you. And I think Islam did some of that early. Ian respected the takedown so much that his offense became cautious. But once Garry started trusting himself later in the fight, things got more interesting. But unfortunately for Ian, by then, Islam already had rounds in the bank. Then came rounds 4 and 5. Now we get to the part of the fight that I just can't shake. Rounds 4 and 5, forget who won. Forget who won for a second. Forget the scorecards. Just look at the two men who appeared more fatigued? To me, Islam. And that surprised me because usually the fighter imposing the grappling is the one making his opponent tired. But this time, it looked like the strength required to impose that grappling was taking something out of Islam too. That's what fascinated me. Islam is winning, Islam is controlling, Islam is dictating, but Ian keeps making Islam dig in his pockets. And late in the fight, you could see the receipts. Now don't get it twisted. What I'm saying is Islam didn't collapse. He didn't quit. He didn't suddenly lose control of the fight. Champions get tired too. But this was information. And good fight analysis is about recognizing information without turning it into an exaggeration. So the information wasn't Islam has bad cardio. I don't believe that, not for a second. The information was wrestling bigger men appears to require more energy from Islam than wrestling smaller men. That makes perfect sense. But now we've actually seen it. Islam looked human, man. He looked human. And strangely, I think that made me appreciate Islam's performance more. Because dominance can make greatness look easy. Then people forget how difficult things actually are. Islam moved up, fought a bigger man, encountered resistance, had to adjust, had to work, got tired, and still found ways to win. That's championship fighting. But Ian did remove something Saturday night. Not Islam's belt, not his credibility, but maybe a little bit of the mythology. Because now we've seen a bigger fighter force Islam to work differently. And that's useful information for every welterweight watching. And you know they're watching. They're not looking at that fight saying, Islam won, I guess there's nothing here to see. Nah, hell no. Hell no, not at all. They're studying it. They're studying every moment Garry got back up. Every time Islam had to reset. Every successful front kick. Every knee opportunity. Every moment Islam looked fatigued. Because elite fighters don't only study what worked. They study what almost worked. Now, this is where I need everybody to calm down on both sides. Just simmer down. Simmer down. Don't overreact. If you're an Islam fan, you don't need to pretend Garry showed us absolutely nothing, because he did. And if you're somebody who's been waiting for Islam to lose, don't hate and try to flip a clear Islam victory into some imaginary defeat. He won decisively. Both things can be true. Islam dominated Ian. And Ian Machado Garry showed us that Islam's physical dominance may not translate from lightweight to welterweight. He brought all the skills with him, but he didn't bring the same physical advantage. These boys are bigger. This ain't 155. That's my takeaway. Islam's wrestling still works at 170. His fight IQ is still there. His composure is still there. His championship instincts are still there. But that physical dominance we watched at 155, well, I'm not convinced that comes with him against every welterweight. Because these guys are bigger, stronger, harder to control. And Ian Garry just showed us that. Islam can absolutely fight at 170. He just might have to fight differently at 170. Because, say it with me, this ain't 155. So, did my opinion of Islam Makhachev go down after Saturday night? No. It changed. There's a difference. Before Saturday night, we were all guessing what Islam would look like against a real welterweight. Well, we ain't got to guess anymore. Now we got tape. Before this fight, everybody had an opinion about Islam at 170. Now we got receipts. We know he controlled a legitimate welterweight. We also know that legitimate welterweights can make him work. And that's what makes this next chapter really interesting. Ian Machado Garry lost the fight, but he may have given the rest of the division some film. And sometimes that's how the first crack in the armor appears. Not because somebody breaks it, instead, because somebody shows everybody else where to swing their hammer. So tell me, did Garry expose something useful? Or are we overanalyzing a fight Islam clearly won? Did Islam's late fatigue concern you? And after UFC 330, are you more confident in Islam Makhachev at welterweight or less? I want the arguments in the comments, please. Because there's another conversation coming. If bigger welterweights can make Islam work like this, who should he fight next? And more importantly, who should he avoid fighting next? We'll handle that separately. If you've enjoyed this episode, join the Knuckle Game community. Like, subscribe, and share. And leave a comment. Thank you for watching this episode of Knuckle Game Aftermath. This ain't 155. Makhachev versus Garry. We don't chase headlines. We chase understanding. And as always, keep your hands up, your chin tucked. I'm El Banger. Thank you for watching Knuckle Game Podcast.